Good morning, Year 10. We are really looking forward to welcoming you back to school, beginning the week of the 15th. I'm going to talk you through a little bit about some of the changes that have happened. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, there are lots more regulations in place about how we can operate as a school. And I'm going to show you today what that will look like when you come into school and talk to you a little bit about some of the regulations that you will have to do. So the key thing is that when you arrive, you will have been allocated to a group, either A, B or C, and the route that you will take into school will be based on that. So I'm going to take you through all three routes, but I'm going to start with route A. As you notice, as we go around the building, I'll point out the signs or the things that are there to remind you to socially distance. And this is going to be one of the key things that you need to remember, particularly on that very first day, that need to stay 2 meters apart. So we're going to follow where group A will enter. So group A will enter this way. And they will walk along the path. So if you are in group A, you follow the little white arrows, with one person on each arrow to make sure that you are distant, and your entry into the building will be this way. So now we are at the steps. There will be a member of staff here, so please don't worry. There will be someone at the gate, Mr. Connor, Miss Horton, Miss Sharif or myself, that will be there to welcome you. And there'll be teachers throughout on duty points that will also be there to welcome you and to guide you if you are unsure of where you're going. So if you're in Group A, you come up these steps and into the school through this entrance. You'll notice that on the floor there are squares with dots in. We are going to ask you to stand on the dots if you're queuing to go in. That means that you will be 2 meters away from the person in front of you and the person that's behind you. And as I said before, that's really important for our regulations for reopening. You'll notice these signs throughout the building to remind you to socially distance, and members of staff like myself or the teachers will also remind you, and we'll use the word distance. If you aren't keeping the right amount of space between you and your friends, we might say to you, Chris, please distance, or distance. And that's just the reminder that you need to make sure that you are 2 meters apart. As you come in through here, you'll notice that on the floor we still have the markings. As you come into the building through any of the entrances, you'll be expected to hand sanitize, and there'll be a member of staff there who will be there to guide you, or if you need anything in particular. And behind me is where the hand sanitizer station will be at this part of the building. I'm now going to walk you through the rest of the route to your classroom. As you know, we cannot have classes that are bigger than 8, and so your class will be your bubble, and you will stay in that bubble. So you will not be allowed to interact or socialise with people from other bubbles, because it's really important that you stay in the area that you've been allocated and with the teachers and staff that you've been allocated with. So if you come this way, we'll show you where you go. Now there'll be members of staff on duty here and further along. So again, there will always be someone to support you And that will be particularly important because school will feel very different to how it does on a normal school day. So Group A will be entering the building and will be leaving the building using this route. And you will be the only group, Group A, that goes this way. So your social bubble has this space. You'll notice again, all the way along are our socially distanced squares where we ask you to stand in the dot. We've now arrived at the lower building. Now, as you will remember from your years at the school, the upper and the middle box and the flats are all areas that you're used to going to. In this time of phased return where we have restricted schools, then you will only be based in the lower, and the gates between the lower and the upper will be locked, because we need to make sure that we contain the space for deep cleaning thoroughly every day, and that we contain the space that we are in during our learning time, because there won't be any social time. So you enter into the building, and most doors will be wedged open, and it's really important that we wedge open doors because it minimises contact and the spread of any germs through touching. So you'll enter in through the door, and you'll notice again the corridors have been set up with the 2 metre spacing. So in your group, even though there's only 8 of you, we will be asking you to wait to go into the building. So I'm going to show you the classroom and what it will look like. So as I said, Group A are using these 3 classrooms, 33, 32 and 31. Now the classroom will look very different to what you're used to, and that's because it's again really important that we maintain social distancing in the classroom. So if you come in, you'll notice that all the desks are spaced 2 metres apart. And it is really important that when you are in the class and you're allocated your desk, that that is your area. So when you are in class, you will not be allowed to leave your desk as you ordinarily would without permission. So once we're in and we're in class, this will be your area. On the desk will be equipment and everything you need for that day. So everything that you need will be there, your mini whiteboard, anything that you need to help you learn in that session. At the front of the classroom is a 2 metre area that is for the member of staff. Now some of your sessions will be delivered virtually. So you might have a teacher that is unable to come on site, or a teacher that might be delivering to 2 or 3 of the groups at once, and it will be virtual. But that means that you will also have the teacher delivering the lesson and a facilitator teacher in the classroom. So it will be a member of staff in the classroom who can answer any questions or ensure that you understand what we're doing. And our focus in the first few days will largely be around PSHE, moving towards maths and English, and in the 3rd week, even some humanities. Now, if you want to leave the classroom at any point, if you're feeling unwell or it's an emergency and you need to go to the toilet, then because of social distancing, we ask that any student lets the teacher in the room know so that they can radio for on-call. All teachers will have a radio, they can radio for on-call will come and they will escort you to the toilets, or if needed, to the medical room or whatever it is that's required. Again, in every classroom, just in the same way as on the way into school, in every classroom there is a sanitizer station. So you will be expected to sanitize and put your rubbish in the bin. During the day, because it's a 3-hour period that you are in this room, you are allowed to bring in a snack that you can eat at specified points, little mini breaks during that 3 hours. And we ask that you take any rubbish home with you and that you don't bring in any of the banned items and none of the things that you normally wouldn't be able to bring to school. When it is the end of your time at school, you'll be dismissed by the teacher. The teacher that's in the room will dismiss you one table at a time. You'll be expected to stand up, sanitize your hands on the way out, and then leave the way that you entered, so back through. Now, if there are a number of you, we expect you to follow the corridor markings so that you always maintain that 2 meters. So once a student is out, they will go out onto the corridor and the teacher will dismiss the next student. So, if you are in Group B, you will enter in through the pedestrian gate at the front and you will follow the path into the building. So I'm going to show you where Group B are going to be based. So if you are in the Group B social bubble, you follow again the exact same principles. You step on the dots if there are people waiting in front of you so that you always maintain that 2 meter distance. So Group B's entrance will be through the main reception, and you'll notice some differences around the school where furniture has been removed or things have been blocked off, and I'll point them out just to make it clear that what is happening in the school. So Group B will come in. You'll be expected to sanitize your hands at the sanitizer station and then go through to your bubble. Now you'll notice that there are some areas that aren't in use and they have the blue boards in front of them, and that's your signifier that actually you can't go into those areas. If you notice again along the floor, we have the 2 meter distancing to make sure that when you are in the building, you remember to maintain that 2 meter distance. So Group B will walk along this corridor and will be based in the rooms at the top. So people in the B bubble will be in L29, L27 and L28. The classrooms are exactly the same. The teacher will be waiting for you. You will enter, you'll take your seat, and that will be your seat for every time that you are in at the academy. Now, as I said, students aren't going to be able to just get up and leave because it's really important that we maintain social distancing and that also we're protecting all members of the academy community, so the bubbles are separate. So if you did want to go to the toilet, if it was an emergency, you would raise your hand, you'd tell the teacher, and they would radio on call. On call would then escort you to this wing of toilets where there is 2 toilets assigned to each group. And the toilets are unisex toilets, so they're available to everybody. But you must only use the group that you are actually in. So if you're in Bubble B, you would go to the Group B toilets. This is really important because after somebody goes to the toilets, the cleaners have to come, clean the toilets and clean any surface that might have been touched. So it's really important that you're escorted back, and that you're using the right facilities, just so we can keep track of that. As you'll notice again, there are areas that you can't go down, so that is your area. Anything with the blue is the real indication that you cannot go into those areas. I'm now going to go down to the front and show Bubble C how they will get in. So by the power of camera magic, we are back at the front of the school. So if you are in Group C, you will enter in through the vehicle gate. Now, cars are not going to be allowed on site, so if you are dropped off by car, it will be outside. That means that it will be really safe for you, but it also minimises the amount of different people that we have coming onto site. So if you follow me, I'll show you the Group C route. Again, you'll notice on the floor as you go through are the socially distanced squares, which makes sure that you know how to remain 2 meters apart. The car park will not be used for staff, so it will always be free of cars, and it will always be a clear access for Group C. Now the Group C entrance will be in by the side of Maths near L23. As you go in, the same at every other entrance, there'll be a hand sanitizer station where you'll be expected to sanitize your hands. Just going to stop you here to point out this area. This will be our fire assembly point during the phased return. At the top of each parking space, 2 meters apart, is the room number. So rather than going to a particular area, you go to your room number. So if you are based in L27, you line up in L27. If there is, in the unlikely event that there is a fire or an emergency and you have to evacuate the building, you must use the nearest exit. So for people in Group A, it will be out through the front and round the front of the building. For people in Group B and Group C, it will be through this entrance. You'll be expected to line up and to follow the instructions from the member of staff. So another key thing to remind you is that because of the pandemic, we cannot have our water fountains that are normally open, where you can fill up your bottles and things like that, open, just because of the spread of germs and the virus. So one of the key things for you to remember is if you think you're going to need a drink throughout the day, you must bring a bottle of water with you. Another important thing to remember is uniform. And we expect you to arrive when you're here for your sessions, even though it might only be 1 day a week. We expect you to be in your full uniform. That means wearing your school shoes, your blazer, your tie, your shirt, your skirt, your trousers, and it's exactly the same expectations. Like I said, every time that you get something right, we will reward you, and there are rewards at the end of every day for those of you that consistently get it right. So if you are in Group C, you'll be using L23, L24 and L25. And the classrooms are the same as in any of the other groups. when you arrive every morning in class, your teacher that is in the classroom will greet you, you will take your seat, your equipment will be there with your name on your folder, everything that you need for that day. Then when you leave, as I've said before, you'll be dismissed. Now I know that we are asking you to remember to do lots of things, like to remember to socially distance, to follow all instructions to distance when being given. Now, we're really clear that we want to make sure we reward people that get it right and get it right all the time. And so at the end of every day, there will be rewards for the students that get positive points for doing the right thing. So every time you do the right thing, following instructions, maintaining your social distance of 2 meters, you will be rewarded. So on the very first day, when you come in, you'll come into your classroom and there'll be an induction session. And we'll go through a little bit more about expectations and things to do. But we're really looking forward to welcoming you back. It's great to see you, Year 10. See you soon.